This is Universal Athlete, IFBB Pro Chris Tuttle. I'm just going to give you guys, and a lot of people who don't know my story, a lot of people like the story because it's a little bit different than the norm. So I'll start back when I was young and what got me into nutrition and eventually ended up leading to bodybuilding. So at a very young age, I was diagnosed with hypoglycemia, and first, second, third grade, I would get bad migraine headaches, dizziness, feel faint, shaky, a lot of the signs of hypoglycemia, minus the migraine headaches. And we eventually narrowed it down to it was a blood sugar issue. I remember my father coming in when I was younger, waking me up, pricking my finger. My father's a physician, by the way, and pricked my finger and got a baseline blood glucose level, and then gave me a glass of orange juice and filled it with tablespoons of sugar. And then every hour he would test it, and my blood sugar like never went above 100, and eventually went down after like 2 hours. So from a young age, I learned that I had to eat kind of a more balanced diet, more of like 50% carbs, I would guess, 30% protein, 20% fat. Kind of a balance of more complex carbs that would help stabilize my blood sugar. At the time, I never saw a nutritionist or a dietitian. I just knew that, like, you know, if I ate like a sandwich, like a peanut butter and jelly, and I had a glass of milk, I'd feel much better than if I ate combos or a bag of chips like a lot of my friends at the time would eat, or like Sprite and Rolos. So that kicked it off, and I noticed that food had a certain effect on me. So I always sought out what I called real food. When my friends would go to ride their bikes to the supermarket, they would get like Rolos and honey buns, and I would always be looking for like those little reheatable cheeseburger things. I know it's gross, reheatable cheeseburgers that you could put in the microwave. And I always wanted Subway. I always wanted real foods that made me feel so much different. And anytime I ate the junk, I'd feel pretty bad. So that was like really kind of what started the whole nutrition thing, and me kind of looking at food at a very young age in a completely different way than others did. So I would say around 10. Now I raced motocross my whole life. I started my first dirt bike when I was 4, and I started racing around the age of 10, 11. And my parents hired a trainer to help me get better. It was my first year racing, just like many's. It was a complete catastrophe. Dead last in like every race, getting run over and breaking bones. And he got a trainer to help us out, and he put me on like I would say more closer to a bodybuilding diet. You know, a lot more meat, a little lower carbohydrates, healthier fats, and vegetables. And this is back in 96. So a lot of the whole like nutrition craze wasn't too big yet. I think it was more Atkins during at that time, and that helped me a lot. And he had me weight train, and weight training for motocross is more of a CrossFit style, is more repetitious, full body movements, a lot of cardio. And I noticed over the year me training with him that I saw results in my body. And I started to develop a little more of a chest and a little more of shoulders, and I had abs, and I didn't know really that was like a cool thing really until like the 6th grade picnic, I remember. And I remember these girls were like, "Chris, you have abs, can you like lift up your shirt?" And like it was like a big deal, and the girls get all giggly, and I'm like, "Oh, this is cool." So I was like, took more interest into lifting weights and trying to change my body more to that. I'm like, well, girls like this, I can build more of this. And my trainer's like, no. Bodybuilding and motocross is like fire and water. He goes, you get big in that bike, he goes, you're going to be slow as hell. So it was always like a push and pull. In the winter, I would lift weights and try to get a little bigger, and I'd read bodybuilding magazines when I was 10 and 11 and look at pictures of Lee Priest and Nasser and all those Dorian Yates and all those guys back then. And I just picked up all the exercises and things to do, and bought packets of Myoplex and brought it to school. And then during the summer, obviously during the spring, summer, and fall, be racing motocross and doing back to more towards the normal lift. So I never really gained any muscle. More just got a little more experience with lifting weights and understanding exercises and more basics of nutrition. And then around 16, 17, I stopped racing for a few years and kind of got caught up in the whole school girls partying thing, and I look back at it now, it's such a waste of time, and you know, I didn't really have my heart into racing anymore, so I stopped for about 2 years, and then right actually towards senior year, I really kind of got over the whole party scene fast, and I mean, my 21st birthday, I never even had a sip of alcohol. I was racing motocross right after high school again, and I was trying to get my pro card, and I didn't go to college right away. I told my parents that, you know, like, you know, for a year I really want to like really focus on racing, and my mom's like, you know, it's your choice, you know, it's your life. If this is what you really want to do, then go for it. So I moved back in from my parents' house from an apartment, and just threw every dollar, every penny I had towards racing. I think I spent like $30,000+ a year that year racing, and I love when people say bodybuilding is expensive. Oh, racing's expensive. And I worked as a personal trainer at a gym, running a nutrition plan for actually a registered dietitian, and that will be the next step in my direction towards nutrition and bodybuilding. So at this point in my life, I always liked bodybuilding, but I still wanted to race motocross. You know, I still understood nutrition more than most people did at that age without nutrition background, education rather. And so I raced, and I ended up turning professional, coincidentally, racing motocross on my 21st birthday. And that was like my lifelong goal since I was 4, idolizing Jeremy McGrath and all these guys. And I felt content with it. And to be quite honest, I was breaking like a bone a year, concussion a year, stitches. And I mean, I was very fortunate. My parents really supported me. That we would go down to Georgia in the winter and ride for a couple weeks prior to the season up here to train and get ready. And we had a whole motocross track on our property and hole shot gate in the ground, built it with bulldozers. And so I was really into it, really into it. Just avoided the whole party scene and everything. And then I did 2 pro races. I did decent. And then after that, I said to my dad, I'm like, you know what? I'm done racing motocross. I can't keep breaking bones, live in my parents' basement the rest of my life because it's so darn expensive. I need to get out of my life, and you know, I think I want to bodybuild and, you know, start school. So I started school, and I started school with nutrition, and I started bodybuilding right away. And that was like 2004. And basically within 2 weeks after my last pro race, I called all my friends who raced, and I'm like, come over, we're having a sale. Sold everything I had, everything, saved the money, you know, and used it during to pay for food and everything during school. And that's how really all this started. So I started bodybuilding. I said, you know what, I'm going to give it a try. I've always wanted to do it. Now that I have the knowledge and the discipline and the maturity at that age, around 21, to kind of like really buckle down and do it, I did. And my first show was 2005, New Jersey's East Coast Cup Classic. I did the novice middleweight in the novice open. Did not place in the novice open. I mean in the middleweight open, and I ended up placing 5th in the middleweight novice because there's only 5 people. And I weighed 174. I would say, understanding condition today, probably 6 weeks out condition. And man, I thought I was jacked. I thought I was going to take it. And I get there and I'm like, oh my gosh. And it was actually funny because Vince Galanti, if I'm saying his name right, he was backstage, and I think he was a light heavyweight at the time, and I remember looking at him and being like, oh my God, how is that guy like under 200 pounds? I thought he was, or if he was a heavyweight or not, but I remember asking him questions about pumping up backstage, and it's just funny now that, you know, we're all together in the same team. And so after that, you know, I had somebody help me, and you know, I kind of wanted to do it myself the following year. So the following year, read all Chris Aceto's books. I read every single book he had, and you know, I was going to school for nutrition as well at the time for college. And people always tell me like, how do you compete during college? I'm like, compete during college is easy. I got straight A's like all the way through every time I competed because, you know, when you're hungry, you like to distract yourself. So I would get my assignments and I would just do them all the time. I was hungry, and then like, oh, another hour to eat. Keep going, keep going, keep going. So the whole year I'd get all my assignments done. So every time I would start to enter a contest, my mom was like, why don't you compete during school year because your grades get so much better. So that's funny. And then so the next year I did the 2006 East Coast Cup Classics again, and the Gold's Gym Classics in New Jersey. And I went from middleweight to light heavyweight with much better condition and of my own accord, which I was very proud of, and I still didn't know much about bodybuilding at the time. So the Gold's Gym Classic was actually one of the most memorable shows in my mind, because I got there and my only goal was just to place top 5 in the Open, because considering the previous year.